Welcome to Change Your Pace Sports. This is your host, Kate. Most objective and unbiased basketball breakdowns and rankings all around. In this video, we're going to break down the Elite 15. That's ranking the top very best 15 NBA hoopers right now in basketball going into the 2019-2020 NBA season. Now, before I get into how we're going to break this down, I'm going to explain to you guys what makes a hooper. What makes an objectively great basketball player and why they make the rankings the way they do and how I broke down the rankings. Now, I broke these rankings down by three different tiers. One, I broke them down by the player's stats, the analytics. Two, by listening to how other players, teammates, coaches, and even the media talked about that player's game and that player's position in the NBA. And number three, of course, by watching game film of the players themselves and breaking it down for myself. So there's actually five things or five qualities or five traits that actually makes a hooper. These are the five things that I grade the players on. These are five things that you'll be looking at for why they made the rankings. So the first thing is offensive versatility and offensive impact. So basically how they impact the court on the offensive side of the ball, how versatile they are, whether it's scoring from three levels, whether it's dominating in the post, whether it's shooting a higher field goal percentage. All those kind of things factor into offensive versatility and offensive impact. Number two, defensive versatility and defensive impact. Same thing as the offense, but just on the defensive side. How much versatility can they guard multiple positions? Can they lock down the opposition? How much of an impact do they bring to the defensive side of the court? That determines their defensive versatility and impact. Alright. Number three, their basketball IQ. How many times do people say they're making smart plays, they're making great adjustments in game, how they're showing that they're adjusting on the fly, they're adapting on the fly, they're being able to use different skills to affect the game. That all comes into their basketball IQ. It's a big thing for what makes a basketball player better than another. Alright? Number four, their competitive spirit. Also known as, in like layman's terms, their dog mentality. How much do they really get after it on the court? How much do they really go after the opposition? How much do they really put their imprint on the game when they go out there on the basketball court? Alright? That's a big time thing of like what makes a real hooper versus somebody that's playing basketball. Alright? Number five, and the last one, their takeover game ability or their clutch ability. So to make yourself a real hooper, when the game's on the line, when the moments are most crucial, who makes the plays, who actually makes the big plays, who actually steps up to the challenge of the moment and is clutch, you know what I mean? Makes the big time plays. That's the fifth thing. Now, the things that kind of my variable could take away from what makes a hooper, could take away from the image of a hooper being that great, or why they shouldn't be on this ranking, or why they shouldn't be this high, or these five major variables that I determined. Alright, number one, the team success. A lot of times because the team is not doing well, or even if the team is doing well, we sort of look at that player a little differently. If the team is doing very well, we think that player being a little better than another player that's not on as good as a team, or the team is like not as good, we start to look at the other players being not as good. Team success can have a determination, but it's not that big determination if you just look at the actual individual player. Number two, the team talent around that player. Like he might be on a roster that doesn't have a lot of high-end players, doesn't play with a lot of all-stars. That might make it harder for him to showcase, by virtue of statistics and other measures, how good he actually is, because he doesn't have the same level of talent around him for him to allow to play to the best of his ability. Alright, number three, in accordance with that, we have the head coach. Like how good is his head coach? How respected is his head coach around the league? How well does his head coach put him in positions to actually be successful and play up to his game, play up to his potential? And going right into that, number four, the playing system and playing opportunities. If a player doesn't get a lot of shots, or the system is not really dictated to his skills and what would make him actually a good basketball player, or just his strengths, that could take away from how good or how productive he is on the basketball court. Right? Then number five, media presentation and media representation of this player. A lot of times the player might not play in a lot of nationally shown games. They might not be a fan favorite. They might not be a media darling, and because of that, we don't see a lot of them, so we assume they're not that good, or they're not as good as these other players that we see a lot more times on the highlight reels and so forth. But just because the media doesn't show them as much, doesn't mean that player isn't as good as his peers. Alright? So those are kind of the ways that we're going to break down the rankings. These are the criterion, so you have an understanding of why these players made the list the way that he did on our Elite 15. Now, the Elite 15, we'll be doing it once a month. We'll update it, break it down. Certain players might fall out the top 15. Some people might actually improve and get higher on the list of the top 15. So we're doing the Elite 15, right? So let's get right into it. We're going to get into it. First off, our honorable mentions. I'm going to give you 3 honorable mentions. Players that could be easily in the top 15 because maybe by injury or other things, they just not quite in the top 15, but they can easily get into the top 15 as the season goes along. Starting off with number 3, we got Indiana Pacers shooting guard Victor Oladipo. Now, Victor Oladipo is one of the best two-way players in the NBA, but unfortunately, he suffered a major knee injury. He probably won't start the season playing. We probably won't see him until maybe around November, December. So until we able to see where he's at and how he returns from the injury, that's why he's a little outside the Elite 15. Number 2, now this guy is actually one of the best two-way players in the NBA right now. He's just outside of the window right now, the Elite 15. He can easily jump in as the season continues, as he's now joined the Miami Heat as their franchise player, replacing Dwayne Wade, who retired this year. This is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then he forced his way out in a trade last year to play with the Philadelphia 76ers. He played big with them, but then he signed a big contract with the Miami Heat in the summer to become now their franchise player. He can easily jump into the 15 as he proves to be that type of franchise player. He's an elite two-way player, an elite defensive player, and can also score very well. One of the most clutch players and big-time players in the league right now. All right, and then number 1 of the honorable mentions is none other than Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors. We've seen him suffer a major knee injury in the NBA Finals. He might not return to the NBA until somewhere around after All-Star break, somewhere February, March. So he can easily be in this top 15 because he's one of the best defensive players, and he's arguably one of the best shooters we've ever seen. So what Klay brings to the court, we know what he can, but right now we're not going to see him for a while, and that's why he's a little bit outside the Elite 15. Right? Without a further ado, now let's go ahead and get into our top 15 now. So, number 15, center of the Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert. Now, Rudy Gobert is on this list because he's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. On the analytics value over replacement player, last year he ranked 4th in the entire NBA. Last year his stats were 16 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, almost 2.5 blocks a game, and he also led the league in field goal percentage at a 66% clip. That's amazing. But a lot of his scores come with layups, dunks, lobs. But Rudy Gobert is arguably the best defensive center in the NBA right now. The impact that he has on the defensive side of the ball is not to be questioned, and that's why he's one of the top 15 players right now in the NBA. Moving right along. Number 14. Philadelphia 76ers point forward Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a former 2018 Rookie of the Year. Last year he ranked 16th in value over replacement player. He also averaged 17 points a game, 8 assists, almost 9 rebounds, and shot it at a 56% clip. Ben Simmons is a matchup nightmare, an excellent passer, one of the better defenders in the league, as he also is a great rebounder, and he presents a matchup problem on both sides of the ball for anybody in the league right now, making him one of the best 15 players in the NBA. Number 13, newly signee of the Brooklyn Nets, aka Uncle Drew, point guard Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is a 6-time All-Star, 2016 NBA champion. He ranked 13 in value over replacement player last season. His averages last year was 24 points a game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. Kyrie Irving is considered one of the most fan-favorite players offensively. Offensively, he might be the best point guard in the league for all the things that he could bring to the court. He has the best handles in the league, without a doubt, and he can score in a multitude of ways. and is usually one of the more exciting players to watch on the offensive side of the ball. He would be a lot higher on this list, but defensively, he's not exactly elite defensively. But offensively, he's really unchallenged, other than maybe Damian Lillard and Steph Curry, who we'll see a little higher on this list. All right? That's Kyrie Irving at 13. Number 12, we have center of the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, a.k.a. the Joker. He's a 2019 All-NBA first team. He came in top 5 in MVP votes last year. Very young player, but he ranked 3rd in the entire league in value over replacement player. His averages was 20 points a game, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and over 1.5 steals a game. Now, what makes him special, he's arguably the best passing big man we've ever seen in the NBA. To him to average over 7 assists, top 5 in assists in the entire NBA as a big man, makes him extremely special, offensively speaking. He also can score in a multitude of ways. His basketball IQ is through the roof. He's one of the better young players in the league, and I expect him to continue to improve. Without a doubt, he's one of the top 15 players in the NBA right now. Moving right along. Number 11, we have point guard, franchise of the Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard, a.k.a. Dame Dollar, a.k.a. Logo Lillard. Damian Lillard last year was 7th in value over replacement players. He's a 4-time All-Star, 2018 All-First Team selection. He's also the best rapping basketball player probably we've ever seen, arguably against Shaquille O'Neal. Last year, he averaged 26 points a game, 7 assists, almost 5 rebounds, and a little bit over 1 steal a game. Damian Lillard has unlimited range offensively speaking, can shoot the ball from anywhere on the basketball court, and also can dunk on you if he needs to. He's a very athletic point guard, but he's also one of the most clutch players in the NBA. We've seen him hit big shot after big shot. He sent several teams home in the playoffs with game-winning, series-ending shots. Damian Lillard is one of the clutchest players in the game, and he has a highlight reel of game winners, which makes him one of the toughest players in the league to actually deal with and contain. And he gets better as the moments get a little bit more crucial, making him number 11. A little bit right outside the top 10. Number 10 now. Former MVP, Golden State Warriors superstar, Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is arguably the greatest shooter the NBA's ever seen. He's a 2-time MVP, 3-time NBA champ, 2016 scoring champ. Last season, he ranked 12th in the NBA in value over replacement player. Steph Curry averaged 27 points a game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. Steph Curry is one of the best offensive players the league has ever seen. His ability to shoot the ball is unmatched virtually by any NBA player we've ever seen. His ability to virtually make an entire defense have to worry about him in any place he is on the court makes him a special and a unique player. Now, why he's not higher on the list, defensively he doesn't make as much as an impact. He's a solid defensive player, but he's not an impactful defensive player. Therefore, he's really just an offensive juggernaut. But his offensive ability is so great, he's clearly one of the top 10 players in the league just off his offensive ability to dominate an NBA game. Moving right along to dominating games. Number 9. We have newly traded to Los Angeles Clippers small forward shooting guard wing player Paul George. Paul George is a 6-time All-Star, a 2-time All-NBA first team defense, a 2-time All-NBA defense second team. Last year he ranked 8th in value over replacement player. Paul George is arguably one of the best two-way players in the entire NBA. He can score with anybody in the league, and he can defend anybody in the league. Other than getting hurt a few years ago when he had a scary knee injury, working his way back, he's back to the elite level that we saw prior to the injury with the Indiana Pacers. Last year with the OKC Thunder, Paul George put up his best numbers in his career, averaging 28 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals a game, leading the league in steals. Paul George is no doubt one of the best defensive players in the NBA, but on the offensive side, you can't be questioned he can dominate the game on that side too. That's why he's 9th in the entire league right now in my Elite 15 rankings. Moving right along to number 8. Number 8 is no other than Houston Rockets superstar James the Beard Harden. James Harden is a 2-time scoring champ, 2018 MVP, 2012 Sixth Man of the Year, 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA First Team, and not only the most dominant offensive player as of last year right now. He led the league in scoring last year, averaging 36 points a game, to go along with almost 7 rebounds, 7.5 assists, and over 2 steals a game. James Harden last year ranked first in value over replacement player in the entire NBA. Many felt that he was the MVP last year. He lost that to Giannis Antetokoumpo, but came in second in MVP votes for I believe the 4th time in the last 5 years. James Harden is arguably one of the best players in the entire NBA. Offensively, he is a juggernaut. Unguardable, can do anything on the court, one of the greater playmakers the league has ever seen. Almost a 6'5", Tiny Archibald, for some of my older fans that know who Tiny Archibald is. Alright? That's what brings James Harden at number 8. The reason why he's not higher on this list, or why some could make a case that maybe he should be top 3 in the league right now, because defensively, James Harden has not made that much of an impact on the defensive side. We've not seen him shut anybody down. We've not seen him commit to that side to where he's one of the more dominant defensive players also. That is just not his game at this stage. But offensively, he's an absolute juggernaut. He's a legendary offensive player already at this stage in his career. Moving along, when we speak about legends and legendary, number 7 comes in as Los Angeles Lakers small forward LeBron James, also known as the King. LeBron James has been the best player in the NBA for the better half of the decade. LeBron James is a 4-time NBA MVP, 3-time NBA champ, 3-time Finals MVP, 15-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA First Team, 5-time All-Defense First Team, and he ranked 11th last year in value over replacement player. His averages last year in limited time because he got hurt, 27 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists, and over a steal per game. LeBron James is arguably still the best player in the NBA based on where his stature is. But in this ranking, based on the objective statistics and all the rankings and the tiers that I break down, he's virtually the 7th player on my Elite 15. But LeBron James is still, on any day, can be just as good as anybody else on the court, can dominate with any other NBA player in the league right now. Hence why LeBron is 7th in the list right now. But the reason that he's 7th and why he's not higher on this list, defensively, LeBron James has not been elite over the last 3 seasons. He's not been the same level of defensive player that he was on the earlier side of his career, where he did dominate both sides of the court. Now LeBron, in stretches, can still be an elite defensive player, but he doesn't consistently do that. Therefore, I can't put him higher up on the list when he's not making that kind of impact on the defensive side of the ball. But offensively, he's a juggernaut like he's ever been before. He's unguardable. He puts the defense in positions where they will have to adjust throughout the season and throughout the game every time he steps on the court. Moving right along, LeBron James' newest teammate with him in the Los Angeles Lakers. Number 6, center, power forward, Anthony Davis, also known as the Brow. Anthony Davis is a 6-time NBA All-Star, 3-time All-NBA First Team, 2-time All-Defense Second Team, 3-time leader of league in blocks. Last year, he placed right underneath LeBron James in 10th overall in value over replacement player. His stats last year was 26 points per game, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.5 blocks, over 1.5 steals per game. Anthony Davis is a two-way juggernaut. On the defensive side, he's elite. He can guard virtually all 5 positions. He's one of the better shot blockers in the entire league. He's one of the most versatile players in the entire league. Talent for talent, he might be the most talented player in the entire NBA. But Anthony Davis has struggled to remain healthy, and he didn't play the majority of the year last year when he demanded a trade, so we didn't get a full season to see where Anthony Davis is compared to the rest of the players on this list. But make no mistake about it, Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the league. The reason why he isn't higher on this list, because he hasn't had more moments in the playoffs or moments in which he actually stepped up and made more of an impact on the overall winning of his team. Maybe this year with the Lakers, with a LeBron James, Anthony Davis can raise higher up on his list as we go along with it. But right now I have Anthony Davis as number 6 on the Elite 15 list ranking. Moving right along to number 5. Newly signed, former Golden State Warrior, small forward, Kevin Durant, also known as Durantula, also known as the Sniper. Kevin Durant is arguably one of the best offensive players the NBA has ever seen. Unfortunately, he suffered a dramatic injury in the NBA Finals and might cost him this entire season. That's why he's now a little bit higher on this list, because we're not sure when he will actually return back to the NBA. We might not see him this entire season because of his injury. But let's go into what makes Kevin Durant the 5th best player in the entire NBA, even though he might not play this entire season. Kevin Durant is a 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time NBA champion, 10-time NBA All-Star, 6-time All-NBA First Team, 4-time NBA Scoring Champion, 2014 NBA MVP. Last season, he ranked 15th in value over replacement player in the entire NBA, with averages of 26 points per game, over 6 rebounds a game, around 6 assists per game, and over a block per game. Kevin Durant put up great numbers last year and showed that he was still one of the greatest players in the league, but unfortunately, again, he suffered that dramatic injury in the NBA Finals that might just kind of like jet lag his career for a little bit. But when we do see Kevin Durant back, I do anticipate him still being one of the top 20 players in the NBA for sure. Let's move right along to number 4. Former Kevin Durant teammate, newly traded to the Houston Rockets, point guard Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook has a little bit of controversy around his name of how good this player actually is. But when you break it down the way I have in these different tiers, Russell Westbrook is definitely one of the top 5 players, maybe even top 3 players in the entire NBA for his impact in all these different phases on the actual basketball court. Russell Westbrook is an 8-time All-Star, a 2-time All-Star MVP. He's a 2017 NBA MVP. He's a 2-time NBA scoring champ. He's a 2-time assist leader. And he also is, for the last 3 seasons, averaged a triple-double. This hasn't been done in the NBA. It's only been done in the NBA once before, and that was in 1962 by Oscar Robertson. Russell Westbrook has been able to achieve this amazing feat each of the last 3 seasons. Just to give you a kind of context, what his greatness really looks like. Oscar Robertson is considered one of the top 5 NBA players of all time. And Russell Westbrook has been able to eclipse one of his greatest feats 3 straight seasons. Not 1, 3 straight seasons. Russell Westbrook's stats of last season was 23 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, almost 11 assists per game, led the league in assists, and almost 2 steals per game. He ranked 6th last year in value over replacement players. Now, Russell is the best rebounding guard in the league. He's one of the best passing guards in the league. Not to mention his defensive impact is still very large. His ability to actually shut players down and actually create disruption on the defensive end is supreme, to go along with his ability to run the floor, become one of the better playmakers in the entire league, and be able to get his own scoring. Again, he's led the league in scoring twice. He can score with anybody. He can pass with anybody. He's a playmaker of a different caliber. Only similar to his former teammate James Harden, who they are teammates again now in Houston. Only the 2 of them have the ability to lead the league in scoring and also lead the league in assists, which is something that we don't usually see ever in the NBA. That should show you the kind of level of specialness Westbrook brings. The difference between Westbrook and Harden, I would say, is Westbrook is an elite defensive player and a great rebounder, whereas James Harden is more just heavily on the offensive side of the ball. Hence why Russell is a top 5 player on my Elite 15 ranking. Let's move right along. Number 3, I have Philadelphia 76ers center Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is a 2-time NBA All-Star, 2-time All-NBA second team, and a 2-time All-NBA second team defense. Now, he's only played 3 full seasons a year because of injuries. He's missed a couple of seasons due to injuries, but there's no questioning Joel Embiid's talent. He was in the race for the MVP last season, and due to only playing less than 60 games last year, he actually fell outside of the top 20 in value over replacement player. He was still top 30, but he fell outside of the top 20 in value over replacement player. Now, Joel Embiid is as dominant as it gets on both sides of the ball. He can score on 3 levels. He can post up. He can shoot. He can handle the ball. He can pass the ball. His idol was the great Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. And he has a lot of those similar features where he can play on both sides at an elite level. And he's unguardable. Last year, he averaged almost 28 points per game. Almost 14 rebounds per game. Almost 4 assists per game. Almost 2 blocks per game. His numbers were absolutely dominant. If he had played more games and was able to maintain more of his health, he would have been more in the conversation for the most valuable player. Going into this season, there's absolutely no question if he is healthy, Joel Embiid is one of the top 3 players in the entire NBA right now. Moving right along to the actual MVP of last season. At number 2, we have Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokoumpo, aka the Greek Freak. Now I feel like his nickname should now be changed to the Greek Beast, because at this point he's no longer just a freakish player. He's now one of the most dominant players in the entire world. Giannis Antetokoumpo is one of the most versatile players the world has ever seen, because he can stuff the stat sheet across the board. There's absolutely nothing that he doesn't contribute to the NBA game on both sides of the court, all sides of the court. Now, Antetokoumpo is the 2019 MVP. He's a 3-time All-Star, and he's also the 2017 Most Improved Player award he won. Last year, he actually was second to James Harden in value over replacement player. So yes, he is one of the more credible, statistically speaking, players in the entire league right now. His averages last year averaged almost 28 points per game, over 12 rebounds a game, 6 assists a game, over 1.5 steals a game, over 1.5 blocks per game. Shot over 50% from the field. Giannis Antetokoumpo is one of the most special players that we have in the NBA right now, and we expect him to continue to dominate for the remainder of his career as he continues to grow into the superstardom that he is. He's number 2 on the Elite 15 list. Maybe he rises up. But number 1 is no other than 2019 Finals MVP, former of the Toronto Raptors, but now of the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, aka the Claw, is a 2-time NBA champ, 2-time Finals MVP, 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA First Team, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time All-NBA Defensive First Team. Kawhi Leonard is arguably the best defensive player in the entire NBA. He's been able to lock down players such as Giannis Antetokoumpo in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard is one of the more dominant defensive players for the last 5 years, but what he brings now, he's also one of the better offensive players, one of the more versatile offensive players, able to come up with big shots and make big plays on the offensive side whenever the game calls for it. Now last year, because he actually didn't play more than 65 games, he was 19th in value over replacement players. But his numbers were almost 27 points per game, over 7 rebounds, over 3 assists, almost 2 steals per game. Now, Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the NBA right now on my Elite 15 ranking because he's the most dominant two-way player in the NBA. If we go through our rankings, our criterion, offensive versatility, he's just as good as anybody. Defensive versatility, we already know he's the best defensive player in the NBA. Basketball IQ, unmatched. He was using that San Antonio Spurs system for years. His basketball IQ is extremely high. His competitive spirit, showing his ability to come up big in the finals with the Toronto Raptors, shows how much he really wanted to win it. And then the clutch shots, the big plays over and over in the playoff run, showed his ability to take over the game. We all remember the game-winning shot to send Philadelphia home in the playoff series in which the Toronto won against the 76ers, in which Kawhi hit the game winner to end the series. He's made countless big plays in the postseason to prove that he is as good as anybody in the league. And I feel like there is no argument right now at who is the best player overall hooper right now in the league other than Kawhi Leonard. So that is my Elite 15 preseason ranking. Now again, we're going to do this once a month to update the Elite 15 rankings. Again, some players can move down, some players can move up. We'll continue to look at it. But if again, I'm always open for a healthy debate. You can leave your thoughts in the comment. We can continue to talk about who you would probably rather in the top 15. Who do you think doesn't belong in the top 15? Who do you think I ranked a little bit too high? Who do you think I ranked a little bit too low? I'm more than willing to listen to anybody's opinion. I love talking about basketball. I love hearing other people's opinions on what basketball is like. But just in case people didn't understand what a value over replacement player is, that basically determines, like, it's a criterion of based on an average player in the NBA, how much better are you than an average player in the NBA? And that gives you a better understanding of how great these players are throughout the course of a season when using those analytics. But that's just one analytic. I use a whole bunch of other things as I described early on of what my criteria in. So if you enjoy my breakdown, you enjoy how I broke it, like, subscribe, share this particular post. And again, I'll continue to have more of these rankings as the season continues. And I appreciate you listening. Peace.